What if I told you you're not a mighty oak tree? Planted by the Mississippi River. You are not stuck. You're not a slave to old habits and patterns. You can flip and reverse any of that whenever you choose to. This video will make it simple to do that for you because people overcomplicate the nature of making necessary change, and we don't have to do that. So by the end of this, you're going to have the keys to get ahead of 99% of people, frankly, who aren't privy to some of these powerful questions that can activate us into alignment. Welcome. If you're new here, my name is Travis, and you can read all the blurbs to know what this channel is about. I'm not going to belabor it. So I have a story for you, and then I have 3 questions. And the 3 questions to frame the whole thing are: first, what's no longer working for you, okay? How can you raise the stakes to make change inevitable? And how do you activate hope to sustain that necessary change? There we go. I didn't gatekeep, but now let me explain it, okay? Yeah. Cousins, I've struggled with a myriad of seasons and chapters in my journey as a sensitive soul with an unconventional path where I didn't kind of want to make change. I was forced to make change. And everyone doesn't have that. Most people stay stuck and the relationships aren't working. You stay stuck doing the same patterns of self-sabotage that keep your business from growing because things aren't bad enough to motivate you to change. In my journey, things have mostly been bad enough to motivate me to change, but I've also learned to have a bias toward action. What does that look like, Travis? Well, let me tell you. So, for starters, when I moved to New York City, life forced me to change. I had to reset and start over. The job I was working at the time in media, heading up learning development, the relationship I had at the time, the nice housing situation I had at the time on the Upper East Side, were all Gucci until one by one, they got yanked from underneath me. One Friday, they said, hey, we're eliminating your department. Okay, word, no career there anymore. And then the next week, the relationship ended right before the holidays. And then shortly after that, had to find new housing because why would you live with your ex? Why would you live with your ex when you don't get along, right? So that's great. All the carpets of security that I once knew got yanked from underneath me all at once. And so change wasn't a nice to do, it was a must. And the issue is that for most of us, we don't get to that point where we have to totally reinvent and up level and make necessary changes because things are kind of comfortable, but you don't love it, but things aren't, dire. So we need to raise some necessity because we don't want things to get to the breaking point, to the rock bottom before you do what you've been putting off. Maybe you're watching this and thinking, okay, I know I've been putting off posting the content. Resources down below about how to get started with that. Or I know I've been putting off having the hard conversations. I know I've been putting off getting my health where I want it to be so I can function optimally. If you have a big purpose, you need to take care of your health in a big way. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you've been putting off your call to step into leadership instead of being the world's best kept secret. You name it. Let me know down in the comments. I want to hear what stirs for you as the impetus for even clicking on this video. Whatever it is, you are called to quantum leap into greater impact and income and flow. You know what I'm saying? So here's the first question we get to consider en route to making necessary change. And remembering, you're not a tree, you're not stuck. You can turn the leaf whenever you want to. Is what is no longer working for you? Let's get really honest about that. What's no longer working for you? In my case, if I'm being honest, even though the job ended because they eliminated my department, the relationship ended that I didn't want to end at the time, and the housing situation was no longer, and I had to find new stuff, I realized none of that was working. None of that was working. I was working this job that I'd outgrown eons ago, and I was doing it because it was comfortable. I was doing it because it was familiar, not because it was aligned. I was writing speeches for someone who's making tons of money off of my ideas, and I wasn't getting paid much for that. And I knew that in one way or another, I was meant to use my own voice, my own words, my own everything, my aura, my essence, to carve my own lane and to help people in my own right. And I love getting to do that now. And so that career was no longer working. Okay, that's one. What's yours? The other thing for me, I realized, okay, the relationship was no longer working, because there's nothing worse. There's nothing more torturous than being in a relationship with someone who's more committed to their comfort than they are to evolving in service of the connection you all get to share with each other. That's what a healthy relationship looks like, is two people choosing to be the best of themselves and also evolving themselves in service of and out of love for each other in the connection. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have that. I was working overtime and this person was like, that's just the way I am. And that doesn't work. So that was no longer working. And then the housing situation, well, that was all connected because we're living together. Okay. But it's like, spread your wings, go find your own stuff. Right. So I realized the changes happened to me. And since then, I've learned to be more proactive so that I don't let things reach a rock bottom before I make necessary changes. What's no longer working for you? Get really honest about that. Get really honest about what it's costing you to repeat this thing, to repeat this pattern, to repeat this habit. Is it the misaligned coping strategies? Let's be honest. I talk to a lot of people in my coaching work who the thing that is no longer working for you is the way you smoke too much weed and all that to avoid the work that is calling your name because it's uncomfortable and uncertain. Or I had a client the other week who was like, oh yeah, I've been afraid to ask this person for what I want. And so here you are sitting on a treasure trove of opportunity. There are all these people who want to help you and they can't help you because you aren't asking for what you need. Uh-oh. You know, ask, you know, receive. You know what I'm saying? What's no longer working for you? Write it down. Okay, next thing here. Next question. I wrote these things down. How can you raise the stakes so that change becomes inevitable? How do you raise the stakes so that change becomes inevitable? It's been said that the pain pushes us until the vision pulls us. I didn't make that up. You know, some people are out here saying they made stuff up they didn't make up. No, I'm not Jay Shetty. Okay? I didn't make that up. It sounded good though. The pain is going to push you until the vision pulls you. What's really interesting, e-cousins, is, you know Charles Dickens? If you don't, he wrote The Christmas Carol. Pretty iconic. I'm recording this around Christmas time. And Charles Dickens is known for what's called the Dickens process. And what is that? It's a process for raising the stakes so that the change we seek, the transformation we seek, becomes inevitable. And you stop getting in your own way. You stop the self-sabotage. So what is the Dickens process? Do you know The Christmas Carol? I'll give you the rundown on it. I'm sorry to mansplain you. But in this movie, book, all the ways that the story's been interpreted, Scrooge, horrible, mean man, greedy, curmudgeonly, just right, lonely, all the worst ways that a person can be. And in this story, he's visited by the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. And you know what the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future show? Mr. Scrooge, that if he stays this greedy, mean, curmudgeonly, lonely man, oh my gosh, it's not going to end up well. And the past doesn't end up well. And the present does not end up well. And the future does not end up well. It's painful. It's lonely. It's horrible. He sees all the harm that's caused to everyone connected to him because he chose to be such a heinous and foul individual. This is called the Dickens process. And how does it apply to you? It applies to you and me and all of us, and how we get to confront the past, the present, and the future version of ourselves to consider, if you keep this up, how's that going to pan out for you? If you keep up not posting your content and keep withholding your light for fear of being seen, how's that going to pan out for you? If you keep letting your neurospicy tendencies with the ADHD, right, task paralysis and knowing what to do and not doing it and staying disorganized as an excuse to not move things forward in your life, how's that going to pan out in the future? How's that panning out for you in the present? Like, let's make this really visceral. Make it so visceral. Make it so tangible. Quantify it if you have to. How much money are you leaving on the table by not raising necessity and raising the stakes to call in those shifts with your health. Like, literally, guys, this is no joke. It's expensive to voluntarily be unhealthy in ways that you can improve your health by moving, by eating better. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, it's whatever. No, it's not. It is so expensive. What? All the drugs, all the doctor's visits, all that. It takes your energy from your purpose, whatever that is for you. You have to raise the stakes. And you can use the Dickens process to do that. And I'm curious what comes up for you when you think about that. This is also the value of coaching, because sometimes you start to get it. You start to see, okay, this is really costly. This habit, right, of task paralysis. That's a big one for people with ADHD. Like, you know what to do, but you don't do it. Or you get all scatterheaded and brained, and then it gets in your own way. That's a big one for neurospicy people. Think about, what is the cost of that? What is at stake if you don't do anything about that? I knew for myself, I got to a point where I saw, oh my gosh, I'm leaving so much money on the table in my business because of my inability to follow through. And so I had to address that. I'll make other videos where I talk about how I've done that. And if you need support with this as an entrepreneur, resources down below. But short of the long, what I did was I got organized. Your boy got into Notion. I have a template down below that I use with content creation that helped me to be more structured before some of those habits became automatic. But when you have the tendency to be scatterbrained, you have to create systems and structure to support you. It makes the habit frictionless, as James Clear talks about. So here is the process for getting ahead of most people in the year of 2026. And you can even start this now. As we discussed, the pain is going to push us until the vision pulls us. And you have to get real clear on what is at stake. What is at stake here? Past version, present version, future version of you, if nothing changes. A lot's at stake. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this video. You know what I mean? In certain circumstances, you're forced to change because of a layoff, because of a breakup, because of a divorce, because of a health scare, because of whatever seismic event. And in other circumstances, you get to choose to be the change because you don't like the natural next step in this progression based on where you're going. Based on where you're going, it's not looking cute. It's not cutesy. It's not demure. You know what I'm saying? So here are the questions again. What's no longer working for you? A lot of people never ask themselves that question, honestly. What's no longer working for you? You're allowed to turn the page. You're allowed to say it honestly. Oh, but Travis, I can't leave the thing right now. I can't leave the job. Even naming the thing is a good start. Naming the thing is a good start. Second question, how do you raise the stakes so that change becomes inevitable? Sometimes you need to seek support to do that because it's not all up to you. You get to be the change, but then you enlist support. No different than an alcoholic enlists the support of an AA group. A leader can enlist the support of a coach or a community, or you start to plug into resources like that. If you want to up the ante, accelerate the pace, collapse decades into days, you get even more support. It all depends on what works for you and what suits you. And here's the third thing that a lot of these motivational people don't talk about online. I'm not motivational, I'm transformational. But we also just have conversations as E's cousins here, entrepreneurs, visionaries, all that. So here's the thing. We don't talk enough about how important it is to activate hope. Hope is a thing with feathers. It's like a bird that flies. You know what I'm saying? Fly, fly away. Hope helps us get liftoff to sustain us en route to the necessary change we seek to call in, the necessary impact you want to make in your work, the necessary alignment and flow you want to enjoy in your life. Hope is what gives us the activation energy to make necessary change. And a lot of people don't talk about this. I've realized I need a hope maintenance and protection strategy because we are surrounded by circumstances that would try to rob us of our hope. Yeah? You know what I mean? The negative news, the negative people, the state of the world is always just... So here's a hope equation I learned from Brene Brown that cements what comprises hope. Hope, big HOPE, is equal to a clear goal, a sense of agency, and a viable pathway to achieve that desired outcome. Goal, sense of agency, viable pathway to get there. Let's unbreak that. Let's unpack that real quick. Unbreak that. That's wild. Unbreak my heart. Yeah. Okay. What's your aim? I talk to so many people who aren't really clear on what their aim is because perhaps they don't know what they value. Perhaps they haven't gotten clear on the earlier question we asked, which is, what am I no longer willing to tolerate? What's no longer working for me? You can start there, and that will help you back into your goal. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be something real practical, like, I don't want to be broke, or I don't want to work a sexy job that I hate, or I don't want to continue doing this thing like I'm doing it, even though I'm successful. I need to do it in a different, better way that works for me. Whatever it is. Okay, the goal. Agency means I believe in my ability to achieve this. That comes from proof that you can make change happen. It comes from results in the world. And it comes from an unflinching belief in yourself. How do you create that sense of agency? You build self-trust. You start to honor the little promises you make to yourself. And then you can make bigger promises and honor those to yourself. For me, one way I do that, daily habit of working out, daily habit of making my bed, daily habit of posting on social media. These are certain things that I consider hygiene for myself and for my business and my work. Non-negotiable. Difference between an amateur and a pro. Pro does it no matter what. Amateur does it when they feel like it. I wish I'd learned that sooner. So, goal. Agency, as we talked about, starts with a sense of self-trust paired with confidence that comes from results. The pile of proof that you are indeed who you say you are. That idea comes from Alex Hormozi. And the final piece here, again, goal, agency, viable pathway. That means that you have carved out a specific avenue or lane to reach desired outcome. A lot of people are quite murky on what path they might take to get where they want to go. And they haven't even started by clarifying the clear goal. So, fill in that hope equation. Hope. How do you make deposits in your hope bank? Clear goal. How do I make deposits in my sense of agency? And then how do I carve out a viable pathway to get there? For instance, I realized for myself with content creation and building my business, I needed a viable pathway to get there in terms of reaching the sort of clients I sought to serve, in terms of marketing, because what overwhelmed me for the longest time was I thought I had to be everywhere. I thought as a one-person business that I need to have this multi-platform marketing strategy. And that's one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make when they start their content creation journey or start a solo business is they're trying to post like a media company. You aren't Oprah, you aren't NBC, you are not CBS. You're not Alex Hormozi, you are not Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. Most of those people have anywhere from a few dozen to a few hundred people making that machine of a media apparatus happen. If you don't have that, don't compare yourself to that. And so I wish I'd learned sooner. Just start with one platform and build from there. Okay? So you got to get curious about what does that viable pathway look like for you. Summary before class is closed, is adjourned. Okay? 1, what's no longer working for you? Get specific about it. 2, how can you raise the stakes so that the change becomes inevitable? Look at that Dickens process again. What's it costing you? And book a chat down below if you're not too clear and you need support with the systems and the structure in your business. And then 3, how do you activate the hope? Because we all need a hope protection strategy. In the words of Stevie Wonder, hate's going round, breaking many hearts. Stop it please before it's gone too far. Love's in need of love today. All that. Yeah. With this, I promise you, if you implement Institute, even some of this, you're going to get ahead of at least 99% of people who are striving on their path to create alignment in 2026 and beyond. I'm so excited to hear from y'all. Again, if you find this stuff useful, I'm a small business and a small channel. Okay? Let a friend know. Anyway, tell me what you got out of this. We'll talk soon. Visionaries and whatnot. Resources down below. Newsletter, all that. I have a whole bunch of stuff for you all because cousins don't gatekeep. You know what I'm saying? Okay, peace.